good noon, Munangal. I understand that this is the final session of the 5 days Airtel online FDP on stress management, organized by the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, University College of Engineering, Nagarkoi. I hope you all had interesting sessions all these days, and I also was part of the previous session, enjoying the essence of yoga and pranayama. And you are here out of stress after a lot of meditation, mind exercises, and yoga. Though we are near the fag end of the program, I consider this as the right moment to talk about planning and decision making. Because planning and decision making can happen if only your mind is clear, free from all your worries and troubles. So, let me begin. I just want to tell one thing. I want the session to be interactive, and I hope you're all out of your meditation now, and you are here with me. People who started worrying about the marks, please don't be in a stressful mood. Please relax, calm down. You'll get your marks and questions, quizzes and everything. Let us just get into the session. I have a task for you. Before getting into the session, I want you to help me. Actually, I want to say you that I forgot to prepare an agenda for a validation program. May I request you all to help me in this regard? I want you all to prepare a short but innovative agenda for a validation session. I assure you the best agenda will be put into action. You have just 2 minutes ahead, and your time starts now. So in 2 minutes, I want you to prepare a short but a kind of innovative agenda. I hope you are with us.
Hello.
Agenda for validation. So I want you to prepare an agenda for a valedictory session, okay, for a validation program.
ஆமா ஆமா அந்த ரெண்டை வந்து இந்த 11 சொன்னாலும் அதோட சேர்த்து 11 ஆர்டர் இங்கே காலேஜ் கொண்டு வர சொன்னேன். அதுல வந்து நீங்க 11 இப்ப 13 கொடுக்குது. ஆமா ஆமா அப்ப பில் ரேட் எவ்வளவு இருக்குங்களா? எனக்கு எல்லாத்தையும் சேர்த்து ஒரே பில்லா போடுங்க.
Okay, that's 10 seconds. Okay, can someone come forward or rather unmute yourself and read the agenda which you have written? Anyone? Can someone unmute your audio? And yeah, Dr. Ravi Prasad has come out with an agenda, prayer and Sagaj Mar cleaning opinions and addressed by guest, addressed by president and concluded remarks. Very good, excellent. And yes, very good. So what happens here is you have done something. I really appreciate your readiness because within 2 minutes I have given a task and you have done something. And how are you able to do that? Maybe because of your pre-existing knowledge about valediction and agenda. But I want you to tell what exactly you did when you prepare an agenda. What did you do first? What are the first step of your writing an agenda? What are the first step of you writing an agenda? Set the objectives, very good. Thought process, very good, excellent. So that is what, see, thinking is the very first step of planning, okay? So let us start with that. So thinking is something which is related to our mind. And if you want a kind of effective planning, your mind should be free from all worries, okay? So that is why I say that this is the right time for you to talk about this planning and decision making. And thank you, friends. I shall implement your agenda in the valediction. Yes, I got wonderful. I am getting wonderful agendas also here in the chat box. Yes, I shall include your agendas in some of the programs definitely. And I'm sorry I couldn't change the agenda of this program since it is planned well ahead. Okay. Now coming for planning. What is planning? Collins English Dictionary defines planning as the process of deciding in detail how to do something before you actually start to do. So planning means looking ahead and chalking your future courses of action to be followed. It is rightly said, well planned is half done, and planning is everywhere. It is the preparatory step behind every action, behind each and every action of human beings, or sometimes a few animals too. Planning is the primary process. Do all plans come into perfect action? If the answer is no, then there is some problem with the process of planning. No doubt, planning is a systematic activity which decides well in advance what to do, how to do, when to do, and who is to do. So, before planning any action, you should get an answer for all these 4 questions. Planning actually bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. It deals with future and involves forecasting. But mere forecasting is not planning. Planning requires assessing the future and providing resources for it. So we need to follow a few steps in planning. The first is establishment of objectives. As one of our friends here rightly said, set the objectives. So you have to establish the objectives. Planning starts with the setting up goals and objectives to be achieved. Objectives provide a rationale for understanding and undertaking various activities as well as indicate the direction of the efforts. As a matter of fact, objectives provide the nucleus to the planning process. Therefore, objectives should be stated in a clear, precise, and unambiguous language. Otherwise, the activities undertaken are bound to be ineffective. Moreover, the objectives focus on the end result to be achieved. So, every planning focuses on the net result or the end result, and the objective helps you travel towards the product result. As far as possible, objectives should be stated in quantitative terms. Most of us frame objectives which are qualitative, whereas when it comes for objectives or goal setting, it should be quantitative. Okay. So objectives should be practical, acceptable, workable, and achievable also. You have to have in mind that whatever objective you create, the objective should be practical, acceptable, workable, and achievable. Let us see this in detail in the later slides. And the next step in planning is establishment of planning premises. So a planning premises is a set of assumptions that are derived from forecasting the future. It's a logical and systematic estimate of the future factors that can affect planning. So, planning premises provide a background against which the estimated events take place. Though these serve the basis of planning, the establishment of planning premises is concerned to take such steps that avoid these obstacles to a great extent. You should be aware, even when you start planning, you should be aware about the obstacles which are ahead in reaching your destination. So planning premises may be internal or external. Internal premises are controllable, whereas externals are not controllable. So you have to be very careful in this planning premises. The next step is the choice of alternative course of action. When forecasts are available and premises are established, a number of alternative courses of action have to be considered. For this purpose, each and every alternative will be evaluated by weighing its pros and cons in the light of resources available and the requirements of the organization. The merits, demerits, as well as the consequences of each alternative must be examined before the choice is being made. After objective and scientific evaluation, the best alternative is chosen. The planner should take help of various quantitative techniques to judge the stability of an alternative. Without doing this, definitely it will be a failure. Let us say, what would you do when your cab breaks down? You will proceed with any available mode of transport. Definitely, no doubt. You will not be prepared every day when you will not plan your travel every day when you go to your office. But when you go on a family trip, on a tour, or let us say, let us take in the case of you building your house, will you just like that proceed? No, definitely there is clear planning taking place, and there definitely you need to have alternative course of action, well planned ahead. That is very much important. And the next step is formulation of derivative plans. During the course of your planning, it is mandated to have a derivative plan. Derivative plans or the sub-plans or secondary plans which help in the achievement of the main plan. So secondary plans will actually flow from the basic plan. These are meant to support and accelerate the achievement of the basic plans. For instance, let us take the case of Mahabharata. I want you all to respond here. Okay, first, can anyone tell who is the hero of Mahabharata? I hope you are all aware of the story of Mahabharata, the national epic. Arjuna, Krishna, very good. We get answers. Lord Krishna. Yes, I am expecting a few more. Karna also. Great. Great. Arjuna, Krishna, Karna, Arjuna, Pandav, very good. So thank you. So we get good many answers. Yes, Krishna once again. Okay. Actually, taking the story of Mahabharata, you must know where it starts and where it ends. The plot starts before the birth of one particular person, and the plot ends after the death of one person. So you remember who is the person? Probably he is the hero. Yes? Can anyone tell who is he? Bhishma. Yes, very good, very good. Thank you. So, though we say Arjuna and Pandavas or Krishna as the hero of Mahabharata, of course, literally, story starts with the beginning of hero and ends with the achievement of hero after the death of the hero. This is, of course, for that ethic and for that scale of any kind of plot. Okay. So what happens here? Mahabharata, it starts with the birth of Bhishma and it ends with the death of Bhishma, as of course before the birth of Bhishma and after the death of Bhishma. But what happens? The story, even Vyasa, he has made many derivative plans that helped him in achievement of the main plan. That is the main plot. Okay, there are a lot of subplots in Mahabharata. The main plot is strengthened only through the subplots. Likewise, our main plan should always be supported by the subplots or these derivative plans. Plotting is planning. So there is no much difference here. So the next step is securing cooperation. Now that you have established the objective and planning premises, and you have chosen the alternative course of action and formulated the derivative plans, what next? You have to have the securing cooperation. After the plans have been determined, it is necessary, rather advisable, to take subordinates or those who have to implement these plans into confidence. That is very important. You alone can't do this. Any plan can be executed by a single person. Definitely there should be some person to be taken into confidence. The purpose behind taking them into confidence are a few. Let us say the subordinates may feel motivated since they are involved in decision making, and sometimes You may be able to get valuable suggestions and improvements in formulation as well as implementation of the plans, where sometimes we think that this will be right, but when we get some idea from them, then that would definitely help us to plan effectively. Also, you can find those subordinates or confidants will be more interested in the execution of these plans than us, because they are responsible. This does not help you in your work environment only. You can find that it's been applied in your personal life too. When it comes for your family life, most of the people think that they can plan and manage alone. But it is not possible. Without the cooperation of your family members, you're better off our children. After all, they make your family. So take them into your confidence. And definitely, I will say you can make wonders. And the last step of planning is follow-up or appraisal of plans. After choosing the particular course of action, the action is on. Our planning is put into action now. Many stop with implementation of the plan. After the selected plan is implemented, it is important to appraise its effectiveness. This can be done on the basis of effective feedbacks or information received from others. This enables one to collect the information about the executed plan, correct the deviations, or sometimes modify the plans also. This step establishes a link between the planning and the controlling function. So the follow-up must go side by side the implementation of plans, so that in the light of observations made, future plans can be made more realistic. Let us say that if one session is going on, if I get planned for 5 days orientation program or FDP program, let us say that in one session some problem has happened, so it is some kind of ICT problem, okay, and I have to look into that so that I can make some other arrangement. I can either shift the room, or either I can change the internet service provider, so that there is no kind of interruption in organizing this session. Okay, so these things should happen. We should not just stop with or we should not just relax after the implementation. So I just skip a few characteristics of planning. Okay, so these are the few characteristics of planning. That is, planning is looking ahead. Because planning is always done for future. Planning, we never plan for the present. Okay, we always plan for the future. So it requires peeping in future, analyzing it and predicting it. So a lot of work is happening here. So as already said, that planning is based on the forecasting. It is a mental predisposition for things to happen in future. So what happened? You could not just like that decide with whatever is there happening in the present. Okay, you have to venture into the unknown realm. So that is very important. Okay, so planning is also an intellectual process. As we see that it is a kind of mental exercises involving creative thinking, sound judgment, and imagination. Yes, because we do not know what is there in front of us in the future. So there is a kind of you should imagine this would be the future, and for that you should have a kind of creative thinking, and probably you should have a sound judgment to move into or travel into this imaginative future. So it is not a mere guesswork. Once again, when you say that it is imagination, it's not just a mere guesswork, but a rational thinking. Okay, that should be necessary, and we will come back to that also later. And one can prepare sound plans if he has sound judgment, foresight, and imagination. And also you can see this planning, it involves choices. Okay, so planning essentially involves choices among various alternatives. You should have plan A, plan B, plan C, and you have to choose between these plans. Okay, so there should be various choices, and also planning is not a kind of one-time process. It is a never-ending function. Because the environment which we face is dynamic, okay, and so there are a lot of external factors involved in any kind of activity. It is planning is a never-ending function, okay. And please, so don't prepare any plan for a period of time, specific period of time, okay. You may think that it ends in a specific period of time, but in the due course of that period, plans are subject to reevaluation and review, okay, because there will be new requirements and there will be changing conditions, okay. So that's also very important, okay. Okay, and planning is all pervasive, as I told you have to encompass everyone, okay, because the scope of planning may differ from one level to another. It should you can see that in the top level it may concern about just planning the organization as a whole, whereas in the middle level they may be more specific, and in the lower level you can see the plan being taking a kind of implementation stage, okay. So you can find in all these stages, you have to cover all the stages, you have to look into all the stages, okay. So it is all pervasive. And see, why do you plan? Do you plan just to make something for the sake of doing? No, okay. So to do something effectively and efficiently, we are planning. So planning is something which leads to accomplishment of objectives at the minimum possible cost. That is also very important, okay. You can see here the utilization of manpower, money, material, methods, and machines would be there. But of course, you should be very keen that planning must lead to saving of time, effort, and money, and all these resources. Okay, and that is very important. Okay, so that is why you plan. Okay, and being flexible, you can say that planning is unpredictable, as I told you already, and it must provide enough room to cope with the changes in demands, competitions, some policies. Okay, all of a sudden, let us say that government introduced demonetization. Okay, so I have planned something, and what happened because of demonetization, everything has collapsed. So what happened? I have to make some other alternative. I have to be flexible in my plan. Okay, and what happened? All of a sudden, as some natural calamities came, there is a kind of pandemic here during this COVID crisis. Okay, once again, it's flexible. Even the teaching process, I hope most of you are teachers. So even the teaching learning process has become flexible. I have prepared a kind of a year plan for my teaching. So what happens? Since my planning is subject to flexibility, I could change instead of this offline teaching, I could change the mode of teaching as the online teaching. Okay, so definitely planning should be flexible. Okay, and planning should always be goal oriented. As we saw in the beginning itself, planning is objective and goal oriented, and you can find if the goals established are perfect, the net result of the execution of the plan would be fruitful. That is very There is no doubt. Okay. So planning identifies the action that would lead to desired goals quickly and economically. So you need to have goals, and the goal should be attained through planning. Right. That is very important. Okay. And let us talk about goals. And yes, when you talk about goals, goals. Yeah, the purpose, goal. What is goal? When you ask what is goal, goal is something. It is set to reach the objective. Okay. Goal is the what that it's a mode of reaching the objective. Okay, so that is my objective, and how to reach that objective, the mode of reaching the objective. Okay, so that is the goal. Okay, so definitely the final reaching the final stage of reaching is called the final stage to reach is called the goal. And you can find here you plan to reach your goal. If you want to succeed, you need to set some goals, some kind of working goals. Okay, and they call that as SMART goals. Okay, I'll come back to you regarding that. And without plan, your goals lack focus and directions, definitely. Okay, and a goal is an idea of the future that a person or a group of person envisions. You can see a person endeavor to reach goals within a finite time by setting deadlines. But what happens? This deadline should not be once again a kind of stress. It should not create a stress in them. So you have to follow certain norms here. And also see that you should set your goal having in mind that the goals should motivate you and it should not demotivate you. When you set goals for yourself, it is important that they motivate you. It means make sure that they are important to you. Okay, you must realize that the goal is very much important to you, and there is value in achieving them. Okay, and as I said, a good goal is SMART. Okay, for goals to be powerful, they should be designed to be SMART. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, so any goal should be specific. You must be very clear and well defined in your goal setting. Vague or any kind of generalized goals are unhelpful because they don't provide sufficient direction. So do not generalize your goals. Be specific, be clear, and be well defined in your goal. And remember, you need goals to show you the way. Without the way, you cannot reach the goal. Okay, so definitely, this goal shows your way to your destination. Okay, so that is why the goal should be designed in such a way that it takes you towards your destination, towards your end point, towards your final product. Okay, and so you have to make it as easy as you can. Okay, because you are going to travel. Okay, let us say there is a provision, there is a provision that there is a necessity that you need to travel to Chennai from here, or you need to travel to New Delhi, okay, to America, okay, and now there is an option that you can avail the sources, available resources, okay, and now will you be choosing the mode of transport which would be a burden for you, or will you be choosing a mode of transport which would be sophisticated or comfortable for you? What will you choose? Will you be choosing going by walk, or going by bus, or driving by car to USA, or sometimes by ship, Okay, do you navigate by ship, or will you be taking a flight to US? Which one will you do? Yes. I hope I can expect some response. Okay. All right. I think everyone are still in the meditation stage. Okay. Right. So what happens here? We always choose for something which makes us at ease. Okay. So for that, what happens? We choose for instance, to go to USA. I choose the flight as a mode of transport. Okay, so that I can feel comfortable, I can be at ease. Okay, so make it as easy as you can to get where you want to go by defining precisely where you want to end up. That is also very important. Okay, so you must know where you end up. Without knowing what is your destination, you cannot set a proper goal. Okay, so you have to be specific in your goal. As I already told you, goal should be quantified, only then it could be measured. Okay, so it could include precise amount, dates, and so on. In your goal, you can measure your degree of success. Okay, so you have to have some kind of yardsticks here fixed. Okay, through which you have to measure the degree of success. Okay. And if your goal is simply defined as to reduce expenses, how will you know when you have been successful? So that is without any kind of without quantifying things, it is not possible for us to measure our success. Okay, so in 1 month's time, if you have % reduced, or in 2 years' time, you have 10% reduced. Okay, if only you quantify it, you can celebrate the success or the achievement of anything. Okay, so your goal should be measurable, and you have to set attainable goals. Don't set goals which are far-fetched. Okay, make sure that it's possible to achieve the goal you set. Okay, and if you set a goal that you have no hope of achieving, you will only demoralize, and you may erode your confidence also. However, resist the urge to set goals that are too easy. Okay, never set goals that are too easy also. By setting realistic yet challenging goals, you hit the balance you need, definitely. Because setting easiest goal is, there is no need to set goals at all. Okay, because easiest goals can be achieved easily, and definitely it will not boost up or push up to the next level. Okay, at last, our goal should bring you the greatest personal satisfaction. That is very important. Okay, so it should give you a satisfaction that you have attained something. Okay, so your goal should be attainable, and also your goal should be relevant. Okay, it should be relevant to the direction you want your life and career to take. By keeping goals aligned with this, you develop the focus you need to get ahead and do what you want. You can see that some people have irrelevant goals. Okay, you can find many people, they study something and they get into some other job. Okay, so that means the goal of the person is not very clear. But I'm sorry, this is the pitiable situation of our country, because the parents, they decide over the studies or education of the children, and what happens, the children's goal is something else, and the parents, they put the children into some other stream which through which they get deviated, and of course that is quite the reason most of the children in India are failures. Okay, so also you can find that any goal must have a deadline. Okay, again, this means that when you can celebrate, you must know when you are going to celebrate your success. Okay, when you are working on deadlines, your sense of urgency increases and achievement will come that much quicker. That is so you have to be time bound, and we have to manage our time also. Okay, time management is also an important factor in planning and the execution. Okay, so you can find that any goal that is not attained without the stipulated time is no goal at all. So you have to be very calculative, very planned, and you have to execute it well. So don't work under deadlines. This is what many people say. But what happens? Your goal should have some deadlines. Okay. But you have to efficiently prioritize the task. That is, planning can help you attain the goal easily. So you have to consider the space, needs, and time of others also who involved in this planning. This is the reason why what happened, the timeline management fails. Time is not something which we calculate about us alone. Okay, we have to take into consideration about all those people involved, all those people and the process, the whole process involved. Okay, that is very important. Okay, I'm reminded of William Penn's lines. Time is what we want most, but what we use worse. Time is what we want most, but what we use worse. So this is so very pathetic. Okay, and so you can see the proper goal and effective planning leads to stress-free decision making. So we spoke about planning, goal setting, and now the decision making. So decision making is the process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative solutions. So you must have this in your mind. Okay. So always, whenever you take any kind of decision, first of all, you must identify the decision. That is very important. Let us see how. So planning and decision making are the most important managerial functions, and they are interrelated, where planning is thinking of doing, decision making is just part of planning. Okay, it is just a part. It's not the final part of planning. Okay, because even after taking decisions, it may change. The plan may change. So it is just part of planning. In other words, planning is the process of selecting a future course of action, where decision making means selecting a course of action. Okay. So there are a few steps in decision making too. I will just make it very fast so that we can get into some kind of activity. So steps in decision making. Okay. First of all, you need to identify the problem, as I said. Okay, when you come to the process of decision making, many people do not know what the problem is. Okay. Without knowing the problem, we take a lot of decisions. Even in our life, this happens. To make a decision, you must first identify the problem you need to solve, or you need to know the question to which you need to answer. It's not like our students who get one question paper and for a single question, for any question with the keyword, the answer will be the same. It's not. Okay. At least that you must know. And you can have that for this, to identify the problem, your mind should be very clear. Okay. So you have to be very clear in knowing your problem. If only you know your problem, you can know your decision. Okay, you can define your decision. Otherwise, you cannot define your decision. Your decision will go astray. If you misidentify the problem to solve, or if the problem you have chosen is too broad, you will knock the decision train off the track before it even leaves the station. Next, after identifying the problem, you have to gather relevant information to the choice. For this, you have to do an internal assessment to see where you or others have succeeded, yourself or others have succeeded. And sometimes some people may have failed in some areas related to your decision. That should also be taken into consideration. It is more or like a kind of review of literature, which researchers do. So this internal assessment should take place. You can also seek information from external sources, including studies, researchers. In some cases, evaluation from consultants also can be of great help, but do not fail to gather relevant information before taking any decision. So decision making should not happen just like that. First, you must know the problem, and then you have to gather relevant information. After that, with the relevant information now at your fingertips, identify possible solutions to the problem. So identifying possible solutions means there are a lot of solutions ahead of you. So you need to identify the possible solution. There is usually more than one opinion to consider when you are trying to meet a goal. For example, let us say that nowadays, getting trended in social media is a kind of fascination towards all the youngsters, especially students, and sometimes even old people. They just want to get trended in YouTube, and so what happens? They just start posting a lot of videos. But what happened? There is a kind of alternative method too. There is some kind of social paid advertisements which help boost the post, the likes, and the promotion also. So likewise, there are a lot of alternatives. You have to identify the alternatives, and you have to choose which would be feasible for you. Okay. And once you have identified multiple alternatives, weigh the evidence. You have to weigh the evidence for evidence in the sense that you have to weigh the evidence for or against the identified alternative. So this is the judging. Okay. See what others have done in the past to succeed in these areas, and take a good look at your own wins and losses. This process is not done by many people because they are very busy in setting the goals and moving towards the deadlines and finding a kind of decision making without looking back at the past. So you have to identify potential pitfalls for each of your alternatives and weigh those against the possible rewards. The next important step is you have to choose among the alternatives. So there are a lot of, so you have first identify the alternatives, and you are weighing the evidences, and now you are going to choose which would be the best. Here is a crucial part of the decision making process, where you actually make the decision. It is here you make the decision actually. Hopefully you have identified and clarified what a decision is made, gathered all the relevant information, and developed and considered the potential paths to take. You should be prepared to choose. So this step is very crucial. So you have to handle this step very carefully, because the next step is taking action, and there is no going back. Once you have made your decision, act on it. So decision making is there an important step in our plan. But is it an end? No. As I told you, you can review your decision. Never rest after putting things into action. After a predetermined amount of time, let us say that you even is a part of your planning, you have to set a kind of time where you want to review your decision. Okay, so after a predetermined amount of time, take a honest look back at your decision. Ask, did this solve the problem? Did your decision solve the problem? Did you answer the questions? Did this decision meet your goals? Is it effective? If so, take note of what worked for future. If not, learn from your mistakes as you begin the decision-making process again. So the planning, there will be slight differences in planning, and the decision-making process will be worked out once again. When it comes for decision-making, it involves three aspects of human behavior. Cognition, that is activities of mind associated with knowledge. Conation, that is the action of mind implied by such words as willingness, desire, and aversion. Affectation, that are the aspects of mind associated with emotions, feelings, mood, and temperament. And fourth, out of all these, there is a skill which is most important in decision making. It is aptitude. Decision making can be effective if only the aptitude of an individual is functional. So let us have a few tasks to check your aptitude and decision making skills. So as I said, the first half of the lecture was theoretical, and the second half would definitely be activity based, interactive, and practical. I hope you're ready. Participants? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So now the next step. When you speak about aptitude deals with knowing. Okay. Mostly we want to know about something else. Okay, first of all, we must know about ourselves. The I is divided into 4 quarters, and one quarter contains some information of us or some details of us which only I know. And the next quarter contains some information about us which others and myself know. And the third quarter focuses on certain aspects of us only others know, whereas I'm not aware of. And there is one fourth quarter which is not known by anyone. So aptitude focuses on these 4 quarters of self. That is what is being done through your meditation, yoga, pranayama, and all sorts of mind exercises. So we should attain a kind of stage where you have to transcend all these phases. That is what the main objective of aptitude is. So you have to identify your ability. That's very important. So there's a lot of difference between competence and performance. Most of the times, what happens, we think that we can do certain things, but when it comes into action, that would be different. So the performance and competence. So my ability to do things is my competence, and my when it's put into action, that's performance. So planning is my competence. Decision making is my performance. When it comes to problem solving, definitely you need to be more of performance oriented than competence oriented. So let us start one activity with this question to understand. See, you have to have this in your mind. You have to understand the problems and you have to think critically and come up with the solutions. And yeah. Let us just get into the activity task 1. Here is a question. Draw a rectangle with 3 lines. I want the participants to work on this question, and you can unmute your camera and show the answer. Draw a rectangle with 3 lines. Yes, anyone got the answer? Yes, madam. Bring it closer to the camera. A rectangle with 3 lines. Thank you for your effort, madam. Wonderful. Thank you. And let us see any other response. Yes, Manjula. Yes. Aditi. Yes. Very good. Very good. I really appreciate the way you think. Thank you. And anyone else? Yes, and here, yes, here there are 5 lines, I think. Yes, though you tried to make 3 lines, I think. Okay. A little bit closer, madam. Okay, very good, very good, very good. So let us see the possible solutions. The first, I think some of you may have got this as an answer. Okay, probably you would be considering one margin of your page as one line, a virtual line, and you draw this. So probably this would be one answer which you got. So draw a rectangle with 3 lines. If that would be your answer, I can say that I can draw a rectangle with 2 lines, but this is not the right answer. Anyhow, I really appreciate you for the way you put your thought into action, because these are common ideologies. Okay, actually, this is a question which is asked in kind of examination in USA. They called there is something called as FBI. I hope you know FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. So this is a question in FBI. Okay, so what would be the possible answer? Okay, so this is the answer. Draw a rectangle with 3 lines. See, very simple. See, we fail to read or understand the question. This is what the problem is. Okay. We were not able to come to a kind of decision. We were not able to plan effectively because we were not able to understand the question properly. Okay, the problem properly. Okay. So if you had understood the problem, definitely there is a kind of solution. See, normally we say that for a rectangle, we need four lines. Okay, how is it possible with 3 lines? Okay, see, FBI is an agency which identifies the criminals who are, of course, more criminal or more cautious, knowledgeable than the police people. Okay, so they need to identify things. Okay, and they never focus on anything big. Okay, they just focus on very simple things. Okay, that is the rationale behind this. So draw a rectangle with the 3 lines. This is the solution. Okay, so you have to think very simple. So don't complicate yourself. Okay, you have to stay calm and think simple. Before we close, let us go for the second task. I think we can find out, but I want all your cooperation in this. Okay. I hope, yes, opposite lines are same. Finished by, yes, thank you. Definitely by 1:15, I will be winding up. This is the last task for you. Okay. So, in your aptitude test or competitive examinations, you may have come across various questions on relationships. So some questions like my father's wife is like that we get getting. So father's wife is my mother. Okay, that is. So we get a lot of questions like this. Okay. So the first question I propose one question in front of you. My brother's sister's father's mother is my dash. I want your answers in the chat box. Grandma. Okay, very good. Grandma, grandmother. Yes. Very good. So let us see the answer. This grandmother. Very right. Right. And I appreciation to all those people who have given the right answer. And I'm not going to find fault with those people who give wrong answer. Please don't feel bad, because this is aptitude, okay, and we can fine tune our aptitude, okay. And the next question is this: my wife's son-in-law's wife is my dash. Wife's son-in-law's wife is my. Very good, very good. Wife's son-in-law's wife is my daughter. Very good, excellent. I'm very happy the way you respond. And I have a third question for you. This is an aptitude question. Indira Priyadarshini is Jawaharlal Nehru's daughter's dash. Very good, very good. So this is what I expected. Indira Priyadarshini is Jawaharlal Nehru's daughter's name. See, some people, they may just think daughters. See, the question itself is wrong. This is what people would be thinking, but it is not that. Okay, Indira Priyadarshini is Jawaharlal Nehru's daughter's name. So what I intend by asking this question is, so the previous three questions were something which was based on relationships, and what happens now this question, if you think or if you approach this question in line with the previous questions, then definitely you will be a failure. Okay, you will definitely will not get your answer. So you have to think fresh every time. Okay, so that is very much essential. So the success lessons which you take from this lecture is: haste makes waste. Haste makes waste. So never be in a hurry. Okay, always take your time and plan accordingly and execute it accordingly. And to develop your aptitude skills, I would suggest you to involve yourself in some play like Sudoku, chess, and some crosswords puzzles. Okay, that would hone your aptitude skills. So it is also proved that the playing Sudoku has developed the decision-making skills also. Okay, the planning and decision-making skills also. So that would be very much effective. Okay, and you have to hone your aptitude skills through practice. Okay, so I wish you be fresh with no stress and no more stress. Thank you.